Welcome to Real English Voices. I am Tom.
And I am Ria. Hello, everyone. It is so good to be back here with you today.
It really is. You know, Ria, usually we start these episodes with high energy, talking about excitement or travel or success. But today, we are going to slow it down a little bit. We are going to talk about something that every single person listening has felt. It is uncomfortable, it is frustrating, and sometimes it can really hurt.
I think I know exactly where you are going with this. It is one of those topics that we often try to ignore, but it affects our confidence so much. We are talking about disrespect, specifically how to handle disrespect without losing your cool and without losing your dignity.
Exactly. And I want to say right at the start, this is especially important for our listeners who are learning English, because when you're speaking a second language, you are already vulnerable. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. And if someone is rude to you or disrespectful or dismissive while you're trying to speak, it cuts twice as deep. It hurts your feelings, but it also hurts your motivation to keep learning.
That is such a powerful point, Tom. I remember when I was first learning a second language, I felt like I had no armor. If someone made a joke or rolled their eyes because I used the wrong word, I didn't just feel annoyed. I felt small. I felt like a child. So today, we want to explore that feeling, but more importantly, we want to talk about how to handle it like a pro, how to stay strong.
Right. So let's start with the basics. What does disrespect actually look like to you, Ria? Because sometimes it's obvious, like someone shouting, but sometimes it's subtle.
Ugh, the subtle ones are the worst. For me, disrespect isn't always shouting. It's often in the body language. It's when you're speaking to someone and they pull out their phone and start scrolling. Or you're telling a story and they interrupt you to talk about themselves. It sends this message that says, you are not important.
Yes, the interruption. That is a big one for me. It's that signal that they are not listening to understand you. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. Or worse, they don't think what you have to say has any value. I had a situation recently, actually, that fits this perfectly. Do you mind if I share it?
Please do. I think stories help us realize we aren't alone in this. What happened?
Well, I was at a coffee shop. It was a busy morning, lots of noise, people moving everywhere. I was standing in line, waiting for my turn. I had been waiting for maybe 10 minutes. Just as I was about to step up to the counter to order, a guy in a suit, looking very important, just slid right in front of me. He didn't look at me. He just started talking to the barista.
Oh no, that makes my blood boil. It's the entitlement. So, what did you do?
Well, that's the interesting part. My immediate reaction, my gut reaction, was anger. My heart started beating fast. I wanted to tap him on the shoulder and say something aggressive. I wanted to say, "Hey, who do you think you are?" But then I froze. I thought, is it worth a fight? Is it worth making a scene in a coffee shop at 8 a.m.?
That is the eternal question. The battle between your ego and your peace of mind. So, did you say anything?
I did, but I tried to do it calmly. I took a breath. I said, "Excuse me, I believe I was next." And you know what he did? He looked at me, looked at the barista, and then just turned his back to me and kept ordering. He completely ignored me.
Wow, that's next level disrespect. That's pretending you don't even exist. That must have felt terrible.
It did. I felt foolish. I felt like everyone in the shop was looking at me, the guy who got cut in line and couldn't do anything about it. But looking back, I realized something. His behavior wasn't about me. It was about him. He was obviously stressed, rude, and lacking basic manners. If I had started shouting, I would have looked crazy. By staying calm, even though he ignored me, I kept my dignity.
That is the key word right there. Dignity. You know, Tom, there's a saying I love. It says, how people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. It's so hard to remember that in the heat of the moment, though. When we feel disrespected, our brain goes into that fight or flight mode. We feel like we're under attack.
Absolutely. It's biological. We perceive a social threat the same way we perceive a physical threat. But let's bring this back to our English learners. Imagine that scenario, but imagine you're in a foreign country. You're trying to order coffee in English and you're already nervous. Then someone cuts in front of you. If you don't have the words to defend yourself, that feeling of helplessness is overwhelming.
It is terrifying. You feel like you have lost your voice. I have heard from so many of our listeners that they stay quiet in those moments because they are afraid they will make a grammar mistake while they are angry. They think, if I try to argue and I say it wrong, they will just laugh at me. So they swallow the anger.
That is heartbreaking, isn't it? Swallowing the anger. It creates this resentment. So let's talk strategies. If you are learning English and someone is rude to you, maybe they make fun of your accent or they pretend they can't understand you, what should you do? What is the first step?
I think the first step is internal. You have to separate your English ability from your intelligence. This is so important. Just because you speak with an accent or just because you need a moment to find the right word does not mean you are stupid. The person being rude, they are the ones showing a lack of intelligence. They lack emotional intelligence.
I love that. Separate your skill from your self-worth. That is brilliant. Okay, so once you have done that mental check, what about the reaction? I am a big fan of the pause.
The pause is powerful. Silence is actually very loud. If someone makes a rude comment or laughs at your mistake, instead of rushing to apologize or rushing to get angry, just stop. Look at them. Count to 3 in your head.
Yes, it makes them uncomfortable.
Exactly. It flips the script. If you rush to apologize, you are accepting that you did something wrong. But if you just look at them calmly, it forces them to think about what they just did. It creates a mirror. And sometimes after that pause, a simple, "Excuse me?" or "What did you mean by that?" is enough.
What did you mean by that is one of my favorite phrases for handling disrespect. It forces the other person to explain their rudeness, and usually they can't. They get embarrassed. It is a way of standing up for yourself without being aggressive. You're just asking a question.
And for our listeners, that is a great phrase to practice. It is simple grammar. What did you mean by that? You can use it in almost any situation where someone makes a weird comment. It puts the pressure back on them. But Tom, what about when the disrespect is coming from someone you can't really escape, like a boss or a colleague?
That is tougher. The coffee shop guy, I'll never see him again. But a coworker, you have to see them every day. I think in a professional setting, you have to be very factual. You have to remove the emotion from your voice.
Can you give us an example? Let's role play a little bit. Imagine I am a colleague who keeps interrupting you in meetings.
Okay, let's do it.
So, Tom, I think the project is going well, but actually, wait, let me just say that we need to change the budget because I think,
Ria, please let me finish my point regarding the timeline, and then we can discuss the budget.
oh, okay.
See? I didn't say, shut up. I didn't say, you're being rude. I just stated a fact. Please let me finish my point. It's firm, but it's polite.
It was very firm, and honestly, hearing you say it, I immediately stopped. It commands respect. And notice, Tom didn't raise his voice, he actually lowered it a little bit.
That is a secret weapon, lowering your voice. When we get angry, we tend to get loud and high-pitched. If you drop your voice and speak slower, you sound more authoritative. You sound like you are in control. And for English learners, speaking slower is actually better anyway. It gives you time to pronounce the words clearly.
That is such a win-win. You sound more confident and your English sounds better. I also want to touch on something else, Tom. Sometimes handling disrespect means walking away. We don't always have to win the argument.
This is so true. I think especially in online spaces or casual encounters, we feel this need to win. We want the last word. But sometimes the biggest power move is just disengaging, saying, okay, and moving on. It shows that their opinion doesn't impact your reality.
It reminds me of that quote, do not cast pearls before swine. It means don't give your valuable energy to people who don't appreciate it. If someone is determined to misunderstand you or determined to be rude about your English, explaining yourself is a waste of time. Your energy is too precious. You need that energy for learning.
I completely agree. I have seen comments on our own videos sometimes, trolls, right? People who leave negative comments just to be mean. And I see our other students jumping in to defend us, which is sweet, but I always think, don't waste your time. They're not here to learn. We're here to learn.
So let's talk about the emotional aftermath. Because even if you handle the situation perfectly, you stay calm, you set a boundary, you walk away, you still feel that adrenaline dump afterward. You might feel shaky. You might replay the conversation in your head for 3 hours. How do we deal with that?
That is the rumination trap. Replaying the movie in your head, thinking of all the things you should have said. Oh, I should have said this. That would have been so clever. It is torture. I think the best way to handle that is to physically move. Shake it off, literally. Go for a walk, do some exercise, change your environment. You have to get that stress hormone out of your body.
I love that. I also like to write it down. If I am really angry, I write a letter to that person. I say everything I want to say. I use all the bad words. I let it all out on paper. And then I tear it up. I throw it away. It gets the poison out of my system without causing real-world damage.
That is a great technique. It validates your feelings. Because your feelings are valid. It is okay to be angry when someone disrespects you. It's a natural human response. The goal isn't to become a robot who never feels anything. The goal is to choose how you act on those feelings.
Right, and I want to circle back to our English learners one more time. I want to tell you all something very important. If someone disrespects you because of your language skills, that is a reflection of their limitation, not yours. You are the one doing something amazing. You are learning a new way to think, a new way to communicate. That takes courage. The person laughing at you, they're staying in their safe little bubble. You are the brave one.
That is beautiful, Ria, and it is true. Every time you speak English, even if you make a mistake, you are growing, you're expanding your world. Don't let a rude person shrink your world.
Tom, do you think there is ever a time when we should get angry? Like, really show it?
That is a complex question. I think anger can be useful if it motivates you to set a boundary, but aggression is rarely useful. You can say, I am very angry right now because you are not listening to me. That is stating your feeling. That is powerful. But screaming and throwing things, that usually just makes you look out of control.
I agree. There is a difference between assertive anger and aggressive anger. Assertive anger protects you. Aggressive anger attacks the other person. We want to protect ourselves, not necessarily attack others.
Exactly. And sometimes people don't even realize they're being disrespectful. We mentioned cultural differences earlier. In some cultures, interrupting is actually a sign of engagement. It means I'm excited about what you're saying. In other cultures, it is the height of rudeness.
Oh, that is such a good point. We assume malice. We assume they want to hurt us. But maybe they just have a different communication style. I have a friend who speaks very loudly. It's just her natural volume. At first, I thought she was always yelling at me. I felt disrespected. But eventually I realized that's just her. She loves me. She's just loud.
So giving people the benefit of the doubt can save you a lot of stress. Ask yourself, is it possible I am misinterpreting this? If the answer is yes, maybe let it go. If the answer is no, and they are definitely being rude, then use the strategies we talked about. The pause, the question, what did you mean? The firm statement.
And the silence. Don't underestimate the power of just looking at someone and saying nothing. It is incredibly heavy.
Ria, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a personal question. How do you handle it when you disrespect yourself? Because we are talking about other people, but sometimes we are our own worst critics. We say things to ourselves like, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or "I will never get this right."
Tom, that hit deep. You are right. That is the ultimate disrespect. When we talk to ourselves in a way we would never talk to a friend, I think handling that requires the same strategy. You have to catch yourself. You have to hear that voice and say, "Stop. What did you mean by that?" You have to challenge your own negative thoughts.
I think that is the most important lesson of all. If we want others to respect us, we have to respect ourselves enough to be patient with our learning process. We have to be kind to ourselves when we stumble.
Absolutely. If you are listening to this podcast, you are investing in yourself. That is an act of self-respect. So give yourself credit for that.
Well said. This has been a really deep conversation, Ria. I hope our listeners found it helpful.
I hope so too. We would love to hear from you guys. Have you ever had a situation where you had to handle disrespect in English? How did you handle it? Did you freeze? Did you fight back? Let us know in the comments. We read them and we learn from you just as much as you learn from us.
Yes, please share your stories. It helps the whole community feel stronger. Remember, you have a voice. Use it. Do not let anyone silence you.
Thank you for listening to Real English Voices. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep your head held high.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.